Hello, YouTube. My name is Aisling Jernan and I am an abstract painter. Welcome to my studio. I'm pretty new to doing lives on YouTube. I'm much more comfortable doing these on Instagram, but my Instagram has been doing quite well with live feeds. So I said, why not spread the love and move over to YouTube? So please bear with me as I figure all this out. So I am London, UK based. And this week we had a bank holiday, and so I'm a little bit behind in what I'm normally doing during the week. But I do, every Wednesday I do live updates from my studio. So I share new paintings that I've been doing, what's been going on in my day to day. And it's a lovely way to build relationships with people and to connect and to share what I do and how I do it, because I found over the last year or so that people are becoming more interested in learning about not just buying the painting, but they want to know about the artist. They want to know about the art and how the art was made. So all the processes behind all the palettes and how they're chosen. So I'm opening myself up and I'm sharing everything with you. And, you know, it's paying off. I've met some really fabulous collectors and buyers, even people who don't collect art, just like starting conversations and chatting to people. And I think particularly with abstract work, it might be considered a little less accessible than some of the other styles of painting. So I just want to chat to people and share what I do and my knowledge and yeah, just break down the barriers a bit. So this week, what's been going on? Yeah, so it's been a bank holiday, so I'm a wee bit behind what I'm normally doing. But great news, I just sold my first painting to Washington, DC. I've sold a lot of work to America already, but never to Washington. So it's quite nice, quite chuffed with that. I also recently sold my first piece to Australia, in Melbourne in Australia, a couple of weeks ago. So this is fabulous, like moving my work online through my website, aislingjernan.com, and then through my Instagram and now through YouTube. It's just opening up my world and basically I'm meeting brilliant people and being able to have these conversations. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching. What's been going on this week? Ooh. Well, I've been working on this new series of work behind me and some to the side and then the side here as well. So these are my three main painting walls. This is like where I keep my studies. I use paint studies, like preparatory studies, to work out what I want to do and how I want to do it. Then I kind of shuffle them onto this wall right behind me, and this is the sort of real painting in progress wall. And then as they come to finishing stage, I move them over to this wall. And that's the way my studio generally works. Bear in mind, my puppy is with me in studio today. So she's sleeping in the corner. If you hear any snoring, that's what the noise is. So with this new body of work, I started this body of work, or this series, about a month ago. And I'm now at the mid stage where they've all come along quite nicely. And this is the sort of difficult stage, because it's where I'm really happy with the development and where the painting has got to, but if I make the wrong paint mark, or if I use the wrong palette, or if I just screw it up, it's going to ruin it, and it's going to ruin like a couple of weeks' work. So I tend to get a bit nervous at this stage of the painting. But because I'm really excited about this new series of work, I'm really trying different things. And I'm going to offer 4 of these paintings through my newsletter. So if you sign up to my newsletter on aislingjernan.com, as a thank you, you will get a discounted offer on 4 of these paintings once they're done. I have about 20 paintings in this size that I will be doing. They're all like 40 by 40 centimeter. So if that sounds good, pop over to my website. Don't worry, I won't spam you with loads of regular emails. It's just newsletter updates about what's been going on in my studio, preview access to new work, exhibition updates when I can get exhibiting again, thank you COVID, and just anything that's going on. I mean, I send them maybe once a month, gosh, once every 2 months, I'd say. So what I'm going to show you is, I'm going to show you 2 finished pieces from this series. So these 2 are the first I've finished, and these are quite typical to to the type of work that I've been making for the past 2 years. So I work in a series of layers. There's about like 10 layers of paint on each painting. My work is rooted in abstract expressionism, but I'm kind of obsessed with mark making and the materiality of oil paint and how you can manipulate it and play with it. So I really love to have fun with the materials that I'm using. So for example, you can see I'm mixing charcoal with a yellow oil bar. If you're not familiar with an oil bar, I always describe it like a grown-up's crayon. It's really thick, and you can have great fun like meshing in and carving into it. And my work is all based on stone wall formations, and that developed through a residency that I did in the west coast of Ireland in County Kerry about 2 years ago now. And the residency was in a fabulous place called Ballinskellig, which is famous for skelligs like rocks. So I made lots of studies into these stones, and it's kind of what I'm a bit obsessed with is the heaviness of the formation of the stone, but their lightness. Like if you look at how a stone wall is formed, there's a nice lightness to it, and that's what I like to capture, because it's an odd thing to say that there's a lightness around stone walls, right? But I suppose particularly I'm looking at stone walls in Ireland, and in Ireland we have very eclectic stone wall making techniques. So that's the first one that's done. Quite pleased with that. Loving this two-tone in the background as well. Secondly, these are all panel board paintings. So this is the back. There is some studio handling along the sides and all of them, because I'm quite physical with how I work, with how I paint. Ooh, so here we go. Painting number 2 from this new series of work. So this one was really good fun, because if you look closely, I've pushed right into the initial layer. See all this along here and here? And what that does is it brings through the grain of the wood in the background. So it's like a starting point, but when you finish the painting, that's almost, you sort of don't see it on first look. And what I like to have in my paintings is that your eye has to be drawn in and around them, you know? You can't just look at them. You have to find, there's always a different thing to see, even though there's not a lot going on the surface, because I don't like my surfaces to be too busy. But there's little details of paint, and that's the fun bit. That's why paint manipulation and, you know, playing with paint is really good for me. So again, I'm using the yellow oil bar and charcoal. Charcoal and oil paint is one of my favorite things to do. I learned about mixing charcoal and oil paint when I went to see MoMA's retrospective on Willem de Kooning's work in 2012, I think it was. Amazing painter, one of my all-time favorite painters, and his painting techniques really influenced how I work. And the final mark in the center here, it's really heavily laid up with a paintbrush, like a dry paintbrush. So you get that lovely dragging mark. And again, it gives that sense of texture, that sense of depth. And that's what I'm always working towards, because I put so many layers down. I like to work towards, like you're constructing the painting through paint marks and paint layers, and then you're deconstructing it through pulling back through those layers. So now I'm going to show you some of the mid-process ones. So these two, because they're quite similar to work I've been doing recently, like over the past year or so. So if you go onto my website, ashlingdrennan.com, you'll see more similar work to that, like from earlier this year and particularly last year. And now I'm starting to push away from that, because I think it's really important as an artist to always be changing, like you're not changing your style, but like developing and progressing. And you have to experiment with creativity in order to move forward. So that's really important. That's really important in each series of work that I do, that I see like a little bit of change, a little bit of movement forward. So, which one will I start with? Ooh, started playing with these real heavy red fiery tones here. Now, these are just work in progress. but it's a very similar idea. I'm pushing in through the paint layers to reveal the under layers. And then all these shapes are from studies I did on the residency, the stone walls. And then I wanted to give it a colour pop because you gotta have a bit of colour in life, don't you? So that's why I have these really fiery reds and oranges going on. So I'm gonna see how that goes. So that was the first one, and then I'm building on variations of that. So let's take this green. Very similar idea, but just I'm constructing the painting in a very different manner here. And it's a lot subtler, it's a lot quieter, and it's lighter. So I'm gonna keep developing these further, and I'll see. I also love, I work a lot with masking tape because it's a great way to build through the under layers. So I'll be developing these over the next, I'll show you this one. Again, pulling through the initial layer and mixing with charcoal and oil paint. So it's a great way to build a lovely texture using some orange here. But these are all these paintings sort of repeat on themselves because I work in a series and I always work on like a couple of paintings at one time. So it's never just one painting every day that I come in and work with. I find that a bit flat. I don't like to work like that. So instead, I like to think that there's conversations happening between all the paintings. So, for example, don't fall. I started with this one, moved on to this one, took some shapes and ideas from this one, put them into this one. Really liked what was happening here, started to move it over here. And so it repeats. Each one is developing as something as forward, but they're all like sort of a conversation within themselves. So yeah, that's what I've been up to this week. And I'm going to start painting more on these tomorrow, Friday. I might come in on Saturday as well, just because with bank holidays today. Thanks so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for watching. It's amazing to get feedback, to get DMs, and to hear from people and hear their thoughts. And I love it. I love what I do. I'm so lucky to do what I do. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed hearing me chat about my work. Thanks. Bye.